Talk about front loading. $35 million on the top line for the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. Matthews, Marner, and Nylander as we welcome in Frankie Corrado here on Power Plays. Frank, is this a move by Craig Berube to get his captain, the 69-goal man, Auston Matthews, going?
No, this is not a move to get Auston Matthews going. Auston Matthews gets going on his own. And as time goes on and he feels healthier and more comfortable, we're not going to have a conversation of does he need Nylander, does he need Marner. 34 is a self-starter, and as time goes on, we will see that. But this is something that Craig Berube has done. He wants to see what it looks like. This is not some kind of move that signifies we need to get Auston Matthews going by putting him with Nylander and Marner. He could just as easily get going with Matthew Nyes on that line, but this is something that you want to see what it looks like if you're the head coach, so why not give it a shot on a game in December?
The $35 million line, one option. I prefer the Wham line, William, Austin, Mitch. You can go a number of different directions when it comes to Toronto's new number one line. Let's talk about Linus Ullmark of the Ottawa Senators. As hot as any goaltender in the National Hockey League, has allowed just 5 goals in his last 5 starts combined. Is he the most important player on any Canadian team, Frank?
He's not the most important player on any Canadian team, but he's the most important player on the Ottawa Senators. You can go down the list and talk about players that are important to their team. Quinn Hughes in Vancouver, Connor McDavid to the Edmonton Oilers, Hellebuck to the Jets, and into Toronto Maple Leafs, Joseph Woll right now is pretty important with Anthony Stolarz on the shelf. But what Linus Ullmark means to the Ottawa Senators is this. They have not had that kind of goaltending. That group is not familiar with this kind of goaltending where he keeps them in games, maybe steals them a game, and makes saves that buy their best players time to get going and ultimately win games. Now the Ottawa Senators sit in a playoff spot. A lot of that has to do with the stellar play of Linus Ullmark, a big reason why they're there.
One team outside of the playoff picture at the moment is the New York Rangers. This is a team in free fall. Mika Zibanejad, one of their best players historically, has not been playing well at all. Is it fair to point the finger at him for the Rangers' struggles, at least in part?
In part, for sure. Is it just Zibanejad? No, it's a combination of things. It's been noisy around that team. That's distracting for that group. But if you've watched Zibanejad play, you see a guy who you think is one of the, top line centers in the NHL. Maybe not the tier 1 top line center, but a very good one that should be able to handle all sorts of things. Now, defensively, hasn't gone well for him. There have been some moments where you say, is he a little too slow out there? And those are not things you want to be saying about your top line center on a team that is struggling. So yes, you can point the finger at Mika Zibanejad all you want, and there's plenty of blame there, but it's not just him. There's a lot of blame to go around for what's happening with the New York Rangers.
Zibanejad is minus 17 on the season. That's something we see from you on the golf course during the summer, Frank. Let's talk about Nazem Kadri. How would you handicap the odds of him being moved at some point this season?
Listen, everything has to be on the table if you're the Calgary Flames because they're in that middle where you're not quite going to be good enough to make the playoffs, but you're not going to be down bad looking for a lottery pick, and that's okay. Like, we've seen teams be in that spot and retool on the fly. So if you saw what the Washington Capitals were able to do this summer, where they made some moves, and I know they made the playoffs last year, but a lot of people, myself included, would have told you that's not a team that necessarily deserved to make the playoffs. But when you see someone retool that quickly on the fly, I'm not sure how willing you'd be to move off a player like Nazem Kadri, because if you want to retool on the fly, you're going to need to have a guy like that, and not having him on your team doesn't allow you to have that retool situation.
Frank, we have a minute left. One question remaining. You were in Montreal last night to see Patrik Laine rack up a hat trick, the third goal of which was beautiful, a top shelf snipe on Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. I mean, when it comes to some of the best shots you've seen in person, where does Laine's rank?
Very high up there. Like, and you talk about hardest shots. Shea Weber's shot just had a different sound, a different feel to it. You prayed that it didn't hit you. Not that I was ever on the ice with Shea Weber. Same with Alex Ovechkin. Generally, when you're on the bench or in the press box, you avoid those kinds of things. But watching Patrik Laine's shot right now compared to his peers everyone else who's shooting the puck in a game that he is playing in, it looks very different. There's so much velocity on it. Last night, NHL Edge tracked his one-timer at just under 90 miles per hour, but it's how accurate it is, how hard it is, and he's beating goaltenders clean. It's pretty awesome to watch Patrik Laine shoot the puck.
It's been a really tough start to the season for Montreal, but with Laine in the lineup, this team is fun to watch. He is must-see TV every single time he's on the ice. Thank you, Frank, for this. This has been Power Plays.